Hey, so what is up guys? So this is iOS 26 at a glance. And this is just what I've experienced on my current iPhone 13. So let's get started. First of all, battery drainage. Man, I've never had my iPhone drain much quicker. This experience definitely does make the iPhone itself drain quicker, especially when you download developer betas. So definitely keep that one in mind before going to go download a beta. Overall though, it shouldn't really harm the experience of the iPhone. I will say that the iPhone itself has crashed a couple of times. By that I mean multiple times. And so I'm actually probably going to switch back out to iOS 18 just because of the whole disaster of my iPhone, and I leave for 2 weeks this coming weekend. So I can't really be having anything happen like that on my main driver. So that is so far my experience with iOS 26. The transparency and the liquid glass. Look, I will say the liquid glass does look cool. The fact that you can see kind of, in the Messenger app, kind of the liquidiness, or the app looks a little bit more vibrant. It stands out more. The other thing is just the liquid glass itself, how transparent it is. Look, I like it. It's definitely cool. And it might be a feature that I try to leave on, but it's also just a little bit too transparent. What that means is just it's hard to read text like notifications and different things like that. But it's also just hard to make your whole home screen glass. And with the background that I have that's very, obscure, it's got a lot of color in it and different things like that, it's definitely hard to tell which app is which. In that sort of scenario. The lock screen does look very nice. I like the whole glassy lock screen. You can make it glass or you can make it solid for the lock screen, depending on what you feel. Apple Music and the whole pinning page, the fact that you can pin your favorite artists or albums to the top of the screen is definitely nice. It's a little bit obstructed, like it's different. And it's something that I will have to get used to. I do like my favorite artists, just being up there. That way I can see them. But that's just one of the things that is definitely a new update for Apple Music. Also, the whole swipe gesture of the menu bar going away as you swipe down the page, and it comes back if you just swipe up, and different things like that. New gestures is definitely nice, and I do like it. My favorite feature so far is actually the new album art. So basically, if you are listening to Apple Music and you have an album that takes up the whole page of the play screen, then what you can do is you can actually go to your lock screen and hit the album art again, and it'll actually show the whole album art, and it'll cover your whole screen on the lock screen. And that is definitely one of my #1 favorite features. It's just because it actually looks really good and it's pretty cool. Now, auto mix. Auto mix is pretty good. Again, we're in the beta stage, so I'm not gonna go on it too hard. But so far, auto mix is basically this feature that we'll just say crossfades the music together into one. And it basically kind of mixes it and DJs it together. So then as you're switching songs, it changes with the music, and basically the music never stops, just like how crossfading works. One of the things that I will mention about this feature is that I've really only had it work well on newer songs, but I've got a liking of listening to some songs by Sabrina Carpenter. And so jumping into Apple Music's Essential Playlists album and hitting Sabrina Carpenter, it definitely mixes that really well. But older music, like I've tried like music back from 2018, like Charlie Puth and different things like that, it can sometimes mix it, but then sometimes it will either freeze or it will stutter just a little bit, and it just doesn't really sound good, and I would rather have it just change the song rather than stutter like that. The new Photos app does actually look very nice. I like the whole ideal situation of how they made it much better, because it sucked. It sucked for the past 2 years, so I'm glad they were able to recognize that and improve upon it. Man, there's a lot to talk about here. The group chats are nice. I have tested out the whole background feature. Apple actually has curated backgrounds for the group chats. You can't actually make your own background, which is kind of sad. But you know, it's whatever. I mean, I'm sure they will introduce new backgrounds just like they did for macOS Tahoe, how we have new backgrounds in different cityscapes and things like that. But so far, it's kind of disappointing that we don't have as many backgrounds for the group chats. But overall, let me know what you guys think about this. Again, it's more transparent. The control center looks a lot different. It's definitely a lot more vibrant, and it looks a little childish. I'm not gonna lie, the control center just looks a little childish and unnecessary. I don't think they really should have updated control center, but to be honest, it's the same iPhone as you had for the last year, but this time it's just more transparent, and there's new gestures for like the camera app and different things like that, which by the way, the camera app is actually pretty cool, and I actually do like it a lot. So let me know what you guys think about this whole update and the whole liquid glass idea. My battery has been draining much quicker just because of the beta update, and it's been generating a lot more heat. And so that is why I will probably be switching out to 18 before I leave on vacation. But let me know what you guys think about this whole situation, and definitely hit the subscribe button as we continue to go through this Mac and this WWDC journey together. For more information about WWDC itself, there will be a link in the description that has basically a 2.5-minute recap of all the things that are important that you missed at WWDC. So definitely check that out, guys, and we'll see you guys around. Peace.